Yo, yo, yo.
What's up, John?
Let me turn on this light real quick.
Cool,
There
cool.
we go.
Yeah, I never met you out there, man, but I was out there a long time, Like, I just
Are
talked to
you
Doc
talking?
Mason.
I know. I just seen that. That's what kind of made me realize, like, oh, this guy does like shows. I was like, oh, what is this? Who is this person? Yeah. Hmm.
So, I was going to talk to you about, like, because you were around, like, at the very beginning, when
I'm
Max was
sorry.
training at God's Army and stuff. Maybe talk about
Hmm.
when you guys were all doing that.
Like when we started training and how it all started and where it
Yeah, yeah,
went and all
yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of things is kind of left out and forgotten about where Max came from and how he started and where it all started and stuff like that. One of the cool things is when we first started fighting and all that kind of stuff, Max was training somewhere else, and I do not know exactly where he started, but he's seen a young group of lions, young, hungry kids training out of a garage, making waves in the island of Oahu. In fact, all islands, because we're kind of building ourselves up, ground up, just local boys just making waves in the islands out of a garage, and people didn't know. There are a handful of garage gyms, but no garage gym has done it as good as we have. We've really I guess we took off at a very early age, just our coach being like a year or two older than us. We're all just kids training each other, working, and yeah, I think we started in like 2000 and no, we started when I was in 11th grade, 10th grade, I think, when I started fighting and all that kind of stuff. And it was around the same time that I started training is when the team was formed. They had a team before. It started with me and my best friend, Black Sam, um, sparring out of his home. It's when Colin, and I don't know if you ever heard of Scheisen, Laupola. That's pretty much the formers of Team Ruthless. It was Scheisen, Colin, Black Sam, or no, Sam Ferreira and Josh Ferreira. It was just those individuals first. They, started jumping into matches with Josh. He was one of the guys that Mike Miller, one of the promoters for X1, would actually reach out to for just whenever there's needing an opponent at like 185. Josh was the guy, and we were his training partners. We were the guys, and I think X1 was the one that actually really put us on the map, helped us, and guided us. Just gave us all the opportunities, threw us in any fight that we was down to, jump in, and that was the team. It was known in every single organization as, hey, if a fight falls out, we can go and reach out to Team Ruthless, right? That was in almost every single event. Like every event, we probably had one person, competing. We're just always ready, and I think that's what attributes Max. That's what makes Max so good, is because he's always been ready. Well, I think that's where we started. We started in that. Yeah, it was really weird how all that all worked out, kind of, retrospect, looking back. We started at a very weird spot, underdogs every single event, and we just kept pushing through, beating the odds, and, becoming one of Hawaii's prominent striking teams, I would assume. But yeah, what in particular do you really want to kind of,
No, maybe we could
get?
talk about just kind of all that stuff because, like you said, I don't think a lot of people know about the
Yeah,
real origins of kind of where
yeah.
Max started, and not just him, but all you
Mhm.
guys.
Yeah, actually, so we started, like I said, Team Ruthless and God's Army started around, I would say, when I was in 12th grade. I think it was like 2005 when we originally started. Around 2005, say 2006, because I graduated 2007. And so it was like 2 years before I graduated, or a year and a half before I graduated, in which I started fighting and competing. And when I was in school, nobody knew me. I was a nobody, and I started fighting and started making a name for myself. And then everybody started seeing, you know, like, oh, this guy, nobody knows this guy, you know, no, he's nobody, blah, blah, blah. And then now he's, you know, beating, you know, some of the best kickboxers and beating some of the best MMA fighters. And so everyone wanted to join our team, and Max was one of those individuals. And when he first joined, interesting is nobody on the team wanted him on the team. Like, we wanted to be a really small niche team, you know, focused. We wanted everybody to be sharp, really, you know, really good fighters and stuff like that. And so that's what we had. You know, we had Shison, a really talented, one of the few fighters out of Hawaii that should have been at the top. You know what I mean? And the crazy thing is Max will attest to that statement that I just made. Shison was like the guy that we all thought, you know, was going to be the next one in the UFC. Like, absolutely. And, you know, he just took a different turn. You know, he went into the family scene, and, you know, I guess he gave that whole fight scene up. And then as we continued to grow as a team around 2000, I'd say 2006 or so, we just kept fighting. Everybody, then people started to join our team. People wanted to join. We still kept it closed. And then eventually Max was introduced to us through a friend named Josh Keanu. Josh Keanu is the one that kind of brought us together in regards to Max and got Team Ruthless, should I say. So Josh brought him over a few times. He sparred and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, nobody really wanted him on the team. He was really fresh, you know, and everybody he wanted to join, and he would ask, like, well, what can I do to join this team? You know, he really wanted to. And Max, he didn't grow up with much, you know. His brothers, Clement, that's the two that we kind of grew up with, Clement and Max, you know. And I remember when them two used to spar each other, and that's Max's younger brother, and Max's younger brother would put it on him too, you know what I mean? And they just would keep trying to come and try to join the team. Oh, man, hold on, let me oh, what's going on?
Yeah.
I got Alexa in my house, so it automatically shuts off my lights. There we go. But so yeah, Max wanted to join the team, and, you know, I guess the team didn't feel he's done enough to join the team. And yeah, he just kept fighting, trying to get in our team, just trying his best to get in a part of our team, and nobody wanted him. And I was like, you know what? That's exactly what I went through when I first started my career. Nobody in this team wanted me. You know, they didn't want me to join, and I had to prove myself. Even my coach wanted me to join, actually, but no one else wanted me, you know, because I didn't look the part. I wasn't the smooth guy that could fight. You know, I was new. They've been training for a long time. So, you know, it started off that way. You know, they wanted the best of the best. They were building a really good name for themselves, and they didn't want any scrubs or any, you know, guys that wasn't great. And so I remember when I had to go through that, you know, nobody on the team wanted me. Team Ruthless, when it first started, nobody wanted me to train with them as well, you know. And when I started, I started training just to lose weight. So myself and Colin McKenzie was working out before the team would start their original practice. I lived maybe a mile or two, maybe 2 miles or 3 miles away, and I'll just walk to his house every morning, would work out, and then, you know, would get my workout in, and he made me drop 40 pounds in, I'd say 6 months. I dropped 40 pounds in 6 months. So, you know, I kept training with him on the side. Nobody still didn't accept me. And finally, you know, was sparring with Shice and all the other guys in the team. And they were like, oh, wow, this guy's holding his own. You know what I mean? He's able to last long and all this kind of stuff. And so, you know, they gave me a shot, you know. So I joined the team. And my first fight was against a guy named Todd Young. Never going to forget that fight, because that was my first fight. And everybody, and like I said, this story that I'm saying has a really good connection to Max as well, because he kind of has the similar upbringing as me when I got involved into the sport. So yeah, I fought Todd Young. Well, I got signed up to fight Todd Young, another animal that I think he came from Las Vegas. I'm not sure if you remember him. Holly boy, just kicking everybody's butt in Oahu. Like, I think he was like 9-0 or 6-0 when I first started him. When I was supposed to match up with him. And after I booked the fight, it was like on the fly. It was literally, we went to the weigh-ins for one of my other friends to fight, and his opponent dropped out. And, you know, I was just there just to support my friends. Back in those days, you didn't need physical. You could just sign up and get your parents to sign a form saying you can fight, and then you can fight. So his guy dropped out, and Colin coach was like, bro, I'm gonna match you up with this guy. And I was like, no way. You know, and I was like, he got 9 fights, blah, blah, blah. And I never seen him fight before. I never knew anything about him. And then he was like, "Oh yeah, we'll match you up with him." And I was like, "Eh." He called the promoter called Colin and asked him, and I was like, "Oh, I'm like, what do you think?" I told Colin, "What do you think? If you think I can take him, then match him up." So I ended up matching, taking the fight, and then weigh-ins they come. I think it was like I said, the day before weigh-ins, in which his opponent dropped out. So we about to weigh in, and I look at this white dude. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna beat this Holly boy up. You know, that's all the Hawaiians used to think, right? I'll beat this Holly up. So we end up walking on walking up to weigh in, and this guy takes off his shirt, just yoked, ripped. I was like, oh, what did I get myself into? You know, and then yeah, we scaled up, weighed up. You know, we made everything happen, and I was just tripping, like, oh man, I just got a match, first match, got into a match, best fight of the night. And turns out, you know, I can throw it down a little bit, you know. So I think 6 or 7 months later, you know, we get a few more fights in, and Max ended up coming around, you know, and he literally really want to join. And so I just ended up telling the boys, convincing the boys, hey, first off, you guys never let me join. And look at what I'm doing now in the scene. You know what I mean? Look where I'm at, you know, give this guy a shot. And so that's what we did. As Colin McKenzie, my old coach, he actually took me under his wing. He started training me. And then I did the same with Max. I ended up coaching him on the side. Me and him would, you know, train with each other and you know, spar with him every day and all this kind of stuff. And we got to a good place, you know, got him a few matches. You know, I'd corner him most of the time, and just kept getting better and better as everyone else in the team was getting better and better. He was hungry, very ambitious. He had dreams. He had, you know, aspirations of, you know, becoming somebody in the scene, and he did, you know. It wasn't till actually he didn't become anything until I left. So I left God's Army and Team Rootless. It wasn't for any particular reason. I left because I wanted to pursue a degree. I went to college. I noticed that I seen a lot of local boys in Hawaii. You know, after their fight career, they ended up working construction, or, you know, they just dwindled away. You know, you don't hear about them anymore. And, you know, I don't know how they're doing. You know, maybe they got some good connections and somehow, I don't know. They just got, you know, fought, got hurt. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be that one local boy that just put all his eggs in one basket, you know, of fighting and not think about the future, retirement, kids, you know, and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to leave behind a legacy, you know, but I didn't want to leave behind a legacy of, oh yeah, he used to be a scrapper. You know what I mean? I never like just lay the path for my kids to know just that. So I went to college. I left for about 2 years. I gave up fighting for a little bit. And during that time, Colin McKenzie stopped training me, and he started focusing on Max. And so during that time, he was able to focus his energy and attention on Max. And so I think if it wasn't for me leaving the sport for a little bit to pursue higher education, Max would not be where he is now. You know what I mean? You know, and then, yeah, so I came back after I was done with college. And then I started training again with the boys. Went back to God's Army. And then we started, you know, getting back in the mix of things, and Max started, you know, making noise around the scene, you know. Yeah, he's making some noise, beating guys left and right. I remember when he fought my brother, like Max was supposed to be signed up to fight somebody, and his guy pulled out. But we had such a big team at that time already, and so we just exhibitioned each other, you know, like we would fight each other in the ring just to stay active, just to, you know, get that ring rust out of there, get that ring exposure and all that kind of stuff. We've done so much things to get to where, you know, Max was, you know, where he is right now, you know. I feel like if I didn't get hurt, I'd probably be where he's at right now as well. You know, I had tons of opportunities that would have put me in the same league as him at this point. You know, if I did not get hurt, if I did not, you know, if I didn't have kids, you know, there's a lot of things that steered me away from fighting for a little bit. And one thing is just making sure that my family's good. I wanted to be the first in my family to not, you know, have to struggle, you know what I mean? So yeah, I didn't go down that route. I didn't feel like that was the best way for me in particular. So yeah.
What was you guys training like?
Oh, nice.
You know,
Yeah. So there's actually a picture. I'll go and send you the picture later after this. I'll send you a picture of our gym, original gym, and how it looked. So we had two mats that was donated to us. I forgot what gym that donated it to us. It was like really horrible. We ended up duct taping these mats together. We trained in a two-car garage, enclosed car garage. We had one heavy bag. Well, we had two, but the other one broke. And so we had one big heavy bag that we ended up putting up together at Colin's mom's house. It was a duplex, a 2-bedroom duplex that he was living in, you know, a dirt road. And we trained in that garage since day one. You know, every afternoon, you know, our whole tribe would jog all the way up to Keeley Drive. If any locals will, a lot of locals should know what Keeley Drive is, but it's this one long hill. We used to run that every single morning, every single day. That was like our daily. So we'd meet up and then jog 3 miles every single day. And I think that was one of the things that really, really brought us together, made us so tough, is that we pushed each other throughout that run. That run was treacherous, you know, it was a long, huge, giant hill, and every day, and plus it's beaming hot. So that was the badass thing. So I think most of our training was just getting our cardio out right, because a lot of the locals from the West Side, or any gym that has no ground foundation, would always lose, mainly because their cardio was not able to sustain the mixture of mixed martial arts. You know, like we can stand and, you know, possibly withstand a match if we could keep the fight standing. But, you know, if we kept getting taken down, then, you know, our cardio, it's like knocking a bar off of our energy, you know? And so we just decided to focus a lot of our attention on getting our cardio really good so that we can withstand, you know, that type of fight, that kind of grunt fight. Yeah, so it was a really small little hole in the wall. You know, we had a few pairs of gloves that we would share. You know, it took a while, and then we started, you know, like I said, we started making noise. X1 would donate some rollout mats. I think it was like the mats that used to be under the ring. I'm not sure if you understand the you know, the padding that we put under the ring. He ended up donating that to us, and we ended up using that as our mats at one point. You know, he gave us that, and then he gave us some tarp that would go over that. And then I think he took that back after a while. I believe he did. He gave it to us. We set it all up, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we I guess whoever gave us that wasn't supposed to have given the mat, but they gave it to us, so we had to give them back." So it was just using these thin pads, and then the two fold out mats. I think. Oh, in fact, we got those mats from Up and Up. I don't know if you know Billy Makaha. We see run the Up and Up events. He gave us mats. Yeah, that's right. And then yeah, it was really, really small, man. We just did the same drill every single day. We'd run with this punching bag drill that was a killer, man. Like the best workout I've ever done, you know? Just punching one bag for how long, like just as fast and as hard as you can for I think like 30 seconds, and then would switch, the other person would do push-ups. It was just crazy. We'd just blow our arms out every single day until that just came second nature to just punch, you know. But it was very basic, very simple. I think it was more it was more about kind of just getting the cardio up, you know. And then eventually we started to grow, and then Colin started to grow as well. He started going out, you know, doing more research on the sport and figuring out new ways of training us, you know, and stuff like that. And so, yeah. And then I think eventually we ended up flying out to Oregon. That's where I'm at now. We ended up flying out to Portland, Oregon. And we ended up flying out to Oregon, training at one of Randy Couture's old gym in OJJ. Stayed out in Tualatin, Oregon, and then we trained out with some of these UFC fighters like Enoch Wilson and Will Shutt. These are all pro fighters that used to fight in the back in the day. Yeah, and then we came back to Hawaii. Like, it was just, there's a lot of things that we did. Like, a lot of things. I think the other cool thing that we did that I can... Oh, I don't have Matt over. This little girl. Bye. His little knucklehead. But yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of things that I can say, like you can see, like right now, what Max is doing, that he's trying to replicate what we had back in the day. You know, like that guy he hangs out with. That what is that funny dude that he hangs out with? I forgot his name. He was cracking out jokes and shit like that. That is Max's.
I don't know the guy. Yeah.
But that is Max's old, like, for example, like I said, my best friend Black Sam, that we had that back in the day. You know, that was like important for us, especially when you're preparing for a fight. Imagine not having to worry about the fight and not think about the fight, and you just got your mind on other stuffs. Cutting weight is such a breeze. You know, just that hard work is such a breeze. You know, we'll just talk story, joke around, have fun. Like, I think that was the best part about the process of getting to the place that we have was working hard, having fun. I think we had so much fun working out and stuff like that. You know, Max got to that point where, you know, he knew what hard work was, you know, without even having to think that he's going through the hard work. You know, we had that one funny guy. His name was Black Sam. Bro, funny as heck. You know, if you go online, you can search up on YouTube the world's Hawaii's funniest prank. And he prank calls his mom. And if you watch that video, you'll see what kind of guy he is. And he was just just somebody you would want in your gym. And that's what I feel like Max is trying to recreate, you know what I mean? With the guys that's in it, with the guys that's in his circle now, you know?
Yeah. So when you're seeing him do this stuff now, is it kind of like not really surprising then?
No, because we always felt like we could beat these guys that's in the UFC, you know, like Jose Aldo. We always thought, like, we always wanted to be like him. Like, we always felt like we were at that point where we could compete with him, you know what I mean? And all those guys that they were fighting with, you know, that was like some of our goals, you know what I mean? Like Max would say, his name used to be Jens Pulver, you know what I mean? Little Evil. That's used to be his name. Why? Because we seen those guys who was coming after them. You know what I mean? That was our goals. You know, we're like, you know what? We're gonna come after these guys. We're gonna eventually get there, and that's where we've always shot. We shot. You know, we're shooting for things higher than them. You know, and yeah, I didn't see anything. I feel like the only thing that. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think I was expecting that. I think that I didn't expect anything less, you know, of any of the boys. I'm surprised we only got Max out of all of our team that's in that area, you know what I mean, that's still fighting. And I think it's because a lot of us decided to kind of give up that dream, you know. You know, and Max pursued that. I think that's the only thing, like Max said, that's the only thing that he had going for himself, you know. That's the only thing that he was passionate about, you know. He didn't have the greatest life growing up, you know. He didn't have his dad in his life, you know. He was raised by his grandma, you know. So he had a really rough life, and he didn't have nothing to look forward to, you know. And with a lot of the locals in Hawaii, most of them don't have nothing to look forward to, you know, besides construction or besides tourist industry, you know what I mean? Like, getting a job at a hotel is a huge accomplishment for a lot of the locals out in the West Side. So, you know, the ambitions for Hawaiians outside of those things was that, you know. So I seemed different. Like, I knew, like, hey, you know, I knew, like, hey, if I obtain a degree, I got more options, you know. And so I think that's what separated Max and I in the game, you know. I was doing it more because I liked the sport. It wasn't because I needed it. It wasn't because that's the only thing that I knew. Again, I started training just to lose weight, and I just took off in my career. You know, everybody wanted me to continue the fighting. Everybody wanted me to, you know, get to the next level and, you know, fight professionally and all that kind of stuff. And I did, you know, I went to a few other promotions outside of Hawaii, international promotions, and, you know, made a little name for myself. I just chose to take a break, and with my knee injuries, those was probably the biggest thing that really stopped me. You know, I just told me, like, you know, you gotta have other plans, you know. I got a weak knee.
So did you like watch the fight the other night?
I did. I was very happy. It felt like he went back to what he knew. You know what I mean? I think over the past three fights that he lost with Dustin Poirier and what's his name, what's the
Volkanov.
Volkanovski? Yeah. So, yeah, those two fights, those three fights. I feel like with Poirier, I think Max was. I think he gave that guy too much respect. You know what I mean? He didn't. I don't think he was confident enough in his chin to stand and face Dustin Poirier. You know? Yeah, I don't know. And then I think he's been really changing his style a lot. You know, what I seen in his last match really demonstrated what our team stand. You know, that was God's army right there. You know, if anything, his fights with Jose Aldo, his fights with what's that other guy? Brian Ortega. That's God's army. You know, that's Team Ruthless. That's exactly how we fought every single time. You know, we were not afraid. We're in there. We knew, like, it could be a flip of a coin, you know, but we knew, like, that's what we got to do. You know, we're entertainers for the most part. We're going in there to kind of, we put everything on the line to prove ourselves. And I think with Volkanovski and Poirier, that wasn't his initiative in those matches. I feel like, you know, he wasn't as hungry. I felt like he just kind of just like, yeah, already made the top, you know, like with BJ, you know, he became the champion. It's like he just tapered away. Like, hey, I already reached the highest of highs. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's where Max is now. You know, he's at that point. And then, I don't know, maybe this last match, he got him hungry, you know? He wants that Volkanovski fight, whether he likes it or not, and he wants the big money, wants the big dollar fights as well. Because I don't think Volkanov, whatever his name is a good big money fight. You know what I mean? He's a champion, and all that kind of stuff. Max beat him twice, barely. You know, Max has been super conservative. I don't know why he's so conservative with that guy, especially knowing that guy is down to strike with Max. You know, that's what drives me nuts, you know. But hopefully his coaches can bring back that spunk that Max used to have in his striking. I think that's what he's missing, is that coach that, you know, knows how to fine-tune his striking, that knows how to. And you can see now he's training back with, you know, a lot of the Wine boys. You know, he's getting back into the spirit in which made him, you know, all the West Side boys, and how we trained and how we sparred and how we fought and all that kind of stuff. He's bringing that back, and I think that's what made Max who he is today. And if he continues to keep his eyes or his focus on who he was and what style created him, he's going to continue to destroy guys at his weight class, you know, including
No,
Dustin Poirier. I think
did you guys spend much time at the boxing club out there at all, or no?
Max started only training there after he got into the UFC. Maybe, like, you know, towards the tail end of his career in right now, his career now. We went there every now and then. It wasn't, and, you know, even Wine Boxing Gym wasn't really like a fan of our team. Actually, we fought them a lot. Like, a lot of our team members would fight them. You know what I mean? A lot of these coaches and teams on the island of Oahu don't really care. They didn't really even care for Max or anyone on our team per se, you know? So it's kind of very interesting and kind of funny to see all of these teams just, yeah, Max, come train with us now, you know, because that wasn't the case back in the day. You know,
Yeah, I would say that's true of a lot of guys in YNI. That was the way
yeah,
it was. There was a
yeah,
separation between, like,
every
the
gym.
guys training in YNI and
Yeah,
maybe like the guys
everyone
training
else.
in town.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. You know, it was actually more of a gym thing. I think it was a territory thing, you know, like our gym versus your gym. Like, even to the point where, I don't know if you remember SYD, Jonathan
Yeah,
Vistante, all those kind of stuff. Yeah,
sit you
we
down.
had our, yeah, sit you down. We had our little thing. We had our thing with them too. You know, it was God's Army versus the world. You know, Wine Boxing. Like, I fought I fought a handful of Wine boxing people. Our boy, like a lot of us, we all fought Wine boxing. Wine boxing was their own entity, and they all came after everybody else. You know, all the guys at Wine boxing gym didn't like nobody else. You know, so it's very interesting to see the circle turning around. You know what I mean? Now they
Yeah.
want to be a part of the us kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because regardless of what anybody say, if you look at how I used to fight back in the day, you will see an exact replica of how Max fights today. You know, stand and bang. The only difference was I was comfortable. I was probably one of the few people in our team that was comfortable on the ground. You know, I enjoyed jiu-jitsu. I didn't. That wasn't my forte. That wasn't what I wanted to be known as. But I enjoyed it, and I wasn't afraid of it. I I just had that. I had a brain that was able to open up to other things. You know, I wasn't closed minded in regards to the ground. Max hated the ground with it, all his heart. And that's why we trained. Everybody in our team hated the ground, and that's why most of our training was just stand and bang with sprawls. It was just a team, a kickboxing Muay Thai team that knew how to sprawl, and that was literally primary all we knew. And we decided, like towards the end of our team, like, hey, we need to get a little better at that ground stuff, you know. And so we ended up traveling to Oregon to learn some jiu-jitsu. Then we added jiu-jitsu to our team, and guess who was the jiu-jitsu coach? Myself. You know, and I had no experience in jiu-jitsu until I started going to until that 2 weeks that we was in Oregon training at OJJ, Oregon Jiu-Jitsu. So, you know, I started doing my YouTube video research and all this kind of stuff, and I started developing, you know, I guess just training, just teaching things that I just would learn, you know what I mean, that I felt like would be helpful for us in the types of fights that we would get ourselves into, you know. Number one thing that we would always get into is takedown. Everyone would always take us down and would land on our back. Now we've got to figure out ways of getting up. Like, how are we going to get up? You know, how are we going to get up? And so that was primary. My job is to find techniques that would allow us to get up back to our feet, because that's where we shined. And so, yeah, it was really interesting time, and how we developed the team into the team that it became. And then, you know, all the dramas that took place in the team, and that, you know, transpired to, you know, convert into God's army and all that kind of stuff. It's interesting. And Max chose to, you know, stay with Colin McKenzie when we converted to God's army, and a handful of the fighters ended up staying with Team Ruthless for a little while. Myself and Max was pretty much like the stars of the team at that point. You know what I mean? Max and I was just us two, the biggest, the best of the team. And then, you know, eventually got Team Rootless ended up falling completely. Just everybody forgot about Team Rootless, and it was God's Army. The whole team of God's Army and Team Rootless ended up becoming one again. Yeah, interesting.
Now, how long ago did you leave Oahu?
I left Oahu 2 years ago now.
So I'm asking because, like, when Max fought in Tulsa, those
Oklahoma?
guys were with me that whole week. Max, Rylan, Ivan, and his
Nice.
cousin, Barack Holt.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
what I want to know is, like, when did he start kind of training with them?
So Max started training with them. This is a very I don't think he's gonna care anymore. But anyways, Max is it started when Max and Colin used to live with each other. Colin used to live at Max's house. You know, when was this? I think it was right when I started my freshman college year, when I separated from the team for a little while. I separated, and Max was with Colin for like a year or so. And then it was right before Rush was born is when Max started training with them. The reason why is Rachel Pahanui, I think her name. Pahalui, I think.
Yeah.
Rachel Pahalui. Rachel Pahalui was going out with, I think she was going out with Dustin Kimura, I believe. Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when Dustin Kimura and Rachel Pahalui were going out with each other, they were training with each other. And Dustin Kimura was training at Gracie Technics. And since, you know, Rachel Pahanui is the sister to Rush's mom, the boyfriend just got together. Raquel Pahalui. Yeah, Raquel, that's the one. Yeah. Raquel Pahalui, sorry. Yeah, so they started going out with each so Rachel, Rush's mom and Rush's mom is connected with Raquel Holloway, so the two boyfriends ended up getting together and working out with each other, just like any, siblings, boyfriends would do. You know what I mean? So they started training with each other, and I think what happened was Rachel's sister ended up like everyone knew her of the person she is. She wasn't the most faithful person, and all of the boys on the team knew that, and so all of the boys were trying to talk him out of being with her, and that was I believe Max's first girlfriend, so he was kind of whipped a little bit, in other words. And Max didn't like that, and I believe his girlfriend, Rush's mom, told Max, if Max does not unfriend everybody, then she not gonna be with him, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So she did one of those ultimatums on him, and basically Max was forced. That's what he said. He was forced to not be friends with us anymore, and so that's what made him train with Dustin in that time. So he ended up separating from the team to train with Dustin because the old lady found out that we knew. Like, I think a couple of the boys ended up doing stuff with her or something like that, and we were trying to tell him, like, bro, don't do it. You know what I mean? And he ended up having a child with her, and she ended up saying all kinds of stuff to kind of manipulate him into leaving the team so that he doesn't train with us anymore, because we knew her past and how dirty it was. And yeah, so he ended up training with Dustin, Kimura, and Ryland guys. And it wasn't nothing like crazy. We didn't think anything of it, They're cool people. I fought Dustin back in the day, and Dustin was a really cool person. And Ryland, they're all really nice people. But yeah, and that's what started it. It was right before Max was born, because Max ended up getting into all kinds of fights for that girl, Raquel, Rush's mom, in school, because nobody liked that girl, and she's been doing all kinds of dirt to Max and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, that's what started it. He ended up training there, and then he ended up coming back and forth because his relationship was rough with that girl. I think her name is Kaimana or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of rough, and so he was off and on with her, and he still trained with us real little bit, but was more so with them because he didn't want the drama around his baby mama. He didn't want that baby mama drama, so he just cut all of the boys off. It wasn't really much me. I didn't really know that girl too much, but that's what was circulating. And, sure enough, that's basically what ended their relationship, period. You know what I mean? So what all the boys were saying was pretty much true. And I think, for me, what probably stopped and kept them from getting back with one another, or the team getting back together, or Colin actually still staying Max's striking coach, was the whole stigma behind it. Like, I told you so. You know what I mean? I bet that kind of stung for Max, and he probably didn't know how to face the reality behind, like, hey, I just shit on all of my boys that got me to this point, and how do I redeem myself after something like that? But yeah, that's basically how it gone from there to there. It's very interesting. There's a lot of moving parts to it, like, for me, like, me and Max kind of started falling off a little bit as well, because I started seeing how Max would really try his best to try to be like a fighter that people wanted or liked, because nobody really liked Max throughout his whole fight career, like, until he got into the UFC. That's the only time when people started, like, really liking him, was when he got into the UFC. Everybody doubted that kid. Everybody and their mama doubted him. And so Max fought hard, in the ring, in the gym, and socially, trying to have everybody accept him. And I felt like, Max, you need to stop that. Like, I feel like you've done enough. You've proven your value of the team. You've proven yourself. You don't need to do that anymore, So, yeah, it's interesting how everything all kind of unfolded, and it's good to see, because I see myself in Max. You know what I mean? When Max wins, I feel like, regardless if he acknowledges it or not, but God's Army wins, Team Rootless wins, Colin wins, Shaisen, Kona, all of the guys involved in God's Army wins as well, because we are this, like, whenever you see Max striking, you can see God's army. You know what I mean? Because there's no one else in his team that can say that, oh yeah, we've developed that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
Now, you know, for people that aren't familiar with like Waianae,
Mm-hmm.
Nanakuli type,
Mm-hmm.
maybe, you know, I think some people have curiosity now, like fans, because
Mm-hmm.
they're seeing these guys. I would say more of the talented fighters from Hawaii come from that area rather than the town jiu-jitsu kind of crew, you know? Me and my
Absolutely.
friend used to always talk about that. People should
Mm-hmm.
open a gym out there because that's where all the guys that
You
really
see,
want to fight are.
I'm very surprised how no gyms really took the, well, any investors took the initiative to actually develop a gym out there, because that's, like you said, it is. If you look at Jose Aldo as a prime example, like he's from the slums, and a lot of talent comes from those slums. You know, Waianae was the slums of the island. You know, that's the area in which all the haoles, whenever the main foreigners come to Oahu, they were told not to go because, you know, they'll get beat up or they'll get robbed and all this kind of stuff, which is far from the truth. I feel, you know, it's just, hey, you leave valuables in your car, no matter where you go, it's going to get robbed. You know what I mean? That's just anywhere. You know, it just doesn't. But anyways, yeah, they definitely should have, you know, invested in the local boys out in Waianae, because if you look at most of the people in the UFC, most of them have ties to Waianae. You know, Yancy Medeiros, what's his name? Well, Kai Kamaka's family has a lot of deep roots to Waianae, you know, the Kamaka
Yeah.
family and stuff like that. You got a lot of really talented fighters out of Waianae that just been overlooked because they don't have all the resources to, you know, or the opportunities and network to be able to do what they do. You know, I was fortunate. I got connected with I don't know if you know who's Wally Carvalho. I was connected with that guy. That's another reason why I kind of stepped away from the team as well. Is I ended up getting set up with him. You know, everybody seemed like I'm not sure if you kind of followed my career as I, you know, went through the rankings, but everybody thought I was going to be like the next in the UFC and all this kind of stuff. And Wally Carvalho ended up scooping me up and taking me to the States, train with, you know, the likes of Cain Velasquez back in the day, before his prime, Luke Rockhold, Brett Rogers. I trained with, what's his name? John Finch, Mike Quick-Swick. Who else? Paul Buenotello. I was training with Josh Punk, all kinds of guys, you know, and just putting in work on these guys. And they're like, bro, look at this soaking wet 135-pound fighter, you know, putting work on all of these pro fighters, you know what I mean? And yeah, I had a really good opportunity and I just let it go, you know, even with the Nick Diaz brothers and stuff like that. The Diaz brothers wanted me to fly out to them. They wanted me to train with them because they found out that I was beating up on Josh Thompson at AKA. And my fight manager ended up setting all of that stuff up for me, and I didn't go because I tore my ACL. So and I was like, oh shit, you know, just retrospect, looking back, like, man, there's so much opportunities for the local boys now than ever, and I just hope that the local boys that are in the scene now is, you know, actually trying to help one another. I feel like now you know, the local boys are actually now pushing to help everybody else, you know, get seen, because for a long time, even BJ included, they never really care about the island. They focus on themselves, got to the top, and I feel like they forgot about, you know, pulling somebody else up with them. You know what I mean? You know, and that includes for a lot of the pro fighters nowadays. You know, back in the days when we started fighting, we always brought one of the boys. You know what I mean, to get some of the shine and the limelight, you know, as we developed our career, to get them exposed, to, you know, show them, you know, where they could be in the future and stuff like that. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of the local boys are forgetting to do, you know, is bring up the necks. And look at all those mainland gyms. That's one of the number one reasons why they're so successful. You know, they're always talking about the necks, you know, to take over their place. You know what I mean? In the coming months and stuff like that. And it's cool that Max is finally doing it, but he's doing it because I feel like his family, you know, is the next generation now, like Asa Stevens, which is a little hammer, you know, and all the other boxers from my boxing gym, you know. So yeah, looks like things are coming up now, you know.
Did you see anyone else out there that you thought was gonna, you know,
Oh,
maybe
wow.
in soon was gonna start to emerge?
like kind of get up there in the top in the
Yeah,
ranks and stuff.
yeah,
I feel like hmm, there's a handful of really, really good talented fighters out there that really felt like, they should have had a shot, or they, could have got out there. Like, for example, like Domi Lopez. He was a little animal back in the day. Let's see who else. A lot of boxers, Tony Boy, Tom Matias. All these were like phenomenal boxers. Like you talk about, like, Asa Stevens and all these kind of these fighters now. Like, if you look at the generation in which myself and Max had to compete in, no comparison to the generation that Ace of them is fighting in now. Back in the days, everybody could fight. Like every single match was it was like anything could happen. You could get destroyed by anybody. Like, it felt like everybody could fight. You had your one or two, dingleberries that was trying to think that they could fight, and like the Dirty Curdies, and I don't know if you remember watching Dirty Curdy and Brennan Kamaka and stuff like that.
sure.
You had it was rare, like, you found those guys that's fighting that didn't know nothing. In my day, everybody could fight. Like, every single person that you fought was decent. Like, they could throw down. Now it feels like anybody can be a fighter. I feel like the competition has watered down so much nowadays. You don't have that much stars as it you used to before. Before Conor McGregor and stuff like that. Back in the day, you had names off of names of just greatly talented fighters. Now, I don't watch the sport as much as I used to, but I do feel like the competition is not as stiff as back in the day. Like when Floyd Mayweather was boxing. You know what I mean? There were like rows and rows of just talented guys.
Yeah.
So if I had to like say a few guys that was, that could have been at the same kind of rankings as Max, would be Shaisen Laupola, Kona K. I think Jonathan had a lot of opportunities that just didn't work out for him. Because Jonathan had a lot of opportunities. He really did. It's
I
just
always thought Cole Ramos.
Cole
Could,
Ramos. Yeah, that's right. Brother Cole Ramos is a little animal too. That's right.
yeah.
Cole Ramos. Who else is there?
I
Um,
always thought he was gonna emerge, but for whatever
yeah, I
reason, it
thought
didn't
too,
happen.
man. Cole was the man. That was one of my good brothers. I used to train with him a lot. And the crazy thing is, connection with Cole Ramos is Cole Ramos gave me my first MMA gloves. He started my MMA career. He gave me a pair of gloves that I still have to this day. Some red Fighter's Corner gloves that he gave me. That was killer, yeah. That was my man. He's I remember him saying that I was one of his favorite fighters. But yeah, Cole Ramos definitely should have been one of those guys that should have stuck with it. It's unfortunate, like I said, a lot of these talented fighters don't have the resources, like Dustin Kimura, them was privileged to be in, like with Riley. They were put into really good gyms. HMC, what's it called? O2 martial arts. You had a lot of really good, well off people training with these artificial gyms that we just never had the opportunities to, or a lot of the boys that was really talented could not pursue that because they didn't have the financial backing to get there. Max was kind of put in a really good spot because he was getting taken care of by his grandma. He didn't have to work. His grandma was super supportive of his endeavors and stuff like that. He had a really good support system in regards to his family that I could see. You know what I mean? So I think that's another one that could play. Let's see who else. Let's go. I said Shaisen. I said Kona K. That was a little hammer too. Hmm. I was surprised that Maki took as long as he did, because he was a little hammer. He used to train with us as well. In fact, almost every person that's in the UFC besides Punahele and Travis Tavares, I feel like, from Hawaii, that's probably the only two that I cannot confirm that did not train with us. Most of the other fighters, they trained with us, at one point in time. The Kamakas. What's his name? Yeah, I trained with him too. Yeah, everybody else, we all trained with one another. Yeah, I cannot think of anyone else offhand, but I know that there's a lot. There's Chad Paval. I think said that too. Chad was a really good one. He wasn't really into the ground game, but he was a really talented. Miller Willesi I don't know if you remember him. He was taking out guys at his age during our time. Who else? Hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of guys, man. I just cannot think off top. It's been a while, man.
Now, so do you still talk with some of those guys from God's
Well,
Army and stuff?
yeah, I talk to Colin pretty much every day. I talk to my boy Sam every now and then. He was a little hammer too. I wish he continued too because he's a little fast firecracker. I talked to Kona K. Yeah, he's doing really well. He started his own business now, called He Above All, which is doing really well. Who else? I haven't seen Cole Ramos in a long time, nor have I talked to him in a long time as well. Yeah, I wonder how he's doing though. Yeah, I moved away, so a lot of those connections I really just dusted off and kind of moved on. If they're not providing any value to my life, no sense holding on to, you know.
Right.
So yeah, I haven't really, honestly. It's just the real close Shaisen Laupola. I think that's the main guys that I really talk to. Every now and then, I'll throw out, me and Max will text around every now and then, but nothing like heavy kind, you know. But yeah, that's probably all. Yeah, Jonathan Vistante every now and then too. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then Josh Keanu as well, a little hammer too. He was doing pretty well too. Yeah.
So now you don't really look back on it or anything as far as you've
Like
moved on.
I wish I could have. Ah, I feel like there's like I'm only 30. I'm 31 right now. You know, so honestly, it's like riding a bike. I moved here about 2 years now, and literally landed here. I'm not sure if you know Paige Van Zant. They
Yeah.
have a gym on American Top Team, and I jumped to that gym, and a lot of professionals out there like Ricky Simone and a lot of those pros are trained there, and I've been to their gym, and I wasn't impressed. You know, no disrespect. It's like I haven't been training for over like 5-6 years, off the couch, jumping in, you know, sparring with these pro athletes. Like I've been training, like, you know, leading up to that match, you know what I mean? That sparring and stuff like that. So yeah, um, I don't regret because I feel like whenever I come to that point where I feel like I could possibly, you know, jump back in every, you know, whenever I feel like, getting back into the groove of things. You know, I'm still young. I still got, you know, the skill to back up, you know, what I've built over the years. You know, I've seen what I can do still. So yeah, I feel like, you know, if I ever do, you know, if God is willing, he wants me to, you know, dust off the gloves, I definitely could. So not necessarily regretting anything. I feel like where I'm at right now is really nice. You know, I'm in IT now and providing a really good life for my children. You know, I'm going to good schools. They went to private schools and stuff like that. So main thing is I'm setting up generational wealth for my children. You know, and you know it's through a way of not beating up my body anymore. You know, as you know, I like Max. Look how Max's face. That was pretty much my face every match. You know what I mean? I was busting my ass every match. I was the fighter of the night almost every event that I've been in. Like there's not one. I can't remember one event or one fight that I've gotten into that I wasn't one of the like nominated as one of the best fights of the night. You know what I mean? So yeah, I feel like I've done a really good job at enjoying what I did because that wasn't my long-term goal, was to be the best in fighting. It just so happened to be something I was decently good at, you know? So yeah, I could see if I was like literally shooting to become somebody or become something, you know, that was never my intentions. My intentions of jujitsu or fighting or training was just to lose weight, you know, actually get some what's it called? I was very insecure, should I say? You know, gain some confidence. You know, gain some good friends, build relationships, and that was primarily the main reason why I started training. Build relationships and lose weight. That's it. And along the way, I became pretty good at it, according to a lot of my fans that I've created throughout the time. Yeah,
Yeah, I saw people here saying you're one of their favorite fighters.
yeah,
A couple of these people.
yeah, yeah.
But
It was a I really enjoyed. I did it for the fans more so. You know, I wasn't doing it for myself, and I think that's what made me go the distance that I've gotten. You know, I did it because I enjoyed making people, drop their jaws. Like, whoa, you know? Yeah, pretty cool. I remember when I fought in Miami, what's his name posted the same thing. I was one of his favorite fights he's ever watched, Shaquille O'Neal. After my fight, he ended up stopping me to take a picture with me, you know, like crazy. I literally stood like his waist height, like I was as tall as his waistline. So, yeah, pretty cool.
Are you gonna watch the Gregor Poirier fight, you think?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I will. I think I really enjoy Conor McGregor. I feel like he's done a really good, he's done a really good thing for the MMA industry, and he's like the Floyd Mayweather of MMA. You know what I mean? And hopefully he continues to, you know, bring value to the fighters, because the fighters deserve more. I don't think the fighters are still getting paid like peanuts. You know what I mean? MMA, should I say? And they need to start paying the MMA fighters better. You know, they're destroying themselves. You know, Max has been touching upon that. You know, taking too much damage to their brain, and most of these fighters are not, you know, doing any type of stimulation to their brain to keep those cells, you know, that they're losing every match. So, yeah, that's good. I think hopefully the sport gets better, and you know the fighters start getting what they're worth.
Did Max always take such a great punch? I mean, that seems to be something he's really
Oh
good
yeah,
at. He
yeah,
never falls, you
absolutely,
know?
absolutely. You know, he learned from the best.
He
You
never
know, yeah.
falls. I mean,
He
it's
never. I
amazing,
think
you know?
yeah. I think it's part of the Samoan blood in him, probably. No, and, you know, we grew up just battling. You know, I remember we used to do this thing called Battle Royale, where everyone would put on gloves in the garage at Colin's house, and we literally just punched anybody next to each other. So you could get side blind anytime, like, and we just threw just haymakers at everybody. And it might seem crazy, but we had so much damn fun, and we just literally in a small room, and we just started busting each other up. And then we used to play this like Marco Polo game where you blindfold somebody and you put on gloves and you just, you know, Marco, and then Polo, and you just punch whoever's close to you, but you're blindfolded. So we're always, you know, I feel like we always prepare that ourselves. I think the number one reason why Max can take a punch is because his cardio is so great. You know, you look at the Diaz brothers, they're a prime example on, I feel like the Diaz brothers don't got a chin. They just got cardio, you know, and the ability to recover and push that oxygen back to their brain that's being lost. I think that's why they're so able to take a punch. Like when he fought Conor McGregor, he got dropped. He got back up, no problem. You know what I mean? A little wobbly, but he got up, recovered super quick because their cardio is really good. And Max is the same, you know? I think the cardio was probably the biggest thing. For me, I don't think I've ever got dropped, knocked on wood. I think it's because of my cardio as well, alongside my ability to absorb the punch a little differently than most people. So whenever I get punched, it looks like I'm getting dropped, or my head is flying in the back of my, you know, back. Like, you know, my neck was very weak, they would always say, you know, but it was the best thing ever, you know. So when I get punched, it doesn't really affect me as much, you know. It's a good absorber when your neck is kind of loose, you know. If you get punched and you just roll with it, I think that's what Max is doing. He's rolling with most of the punches as well. Yeah. I'm
Well,
not
I
too bad.
appreciate you taking the time, man. I know I've taken up a lot of your time, but
No problem.
I mean, I
I'm chilling.
appreciate you giving me some insight on all this stuff. I'd love to talk
Yeah.
to you again.
Yeah, for
Maybe we
sure.
could get several people on, like me, you, and Doc or something.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, I
Yeah,
seen that. Doc was fun. I think Doc took a lot of pride in following our team.
yeah.
Like he said, he wasn't fortunate to come out to the gym, but they did. You know, they did do a little video on us back in the day. You know, and I feel like a little actually was on K5. It was really cool. On the news, it was pretty cool. Yeah, but Doc was not there on that one, unfortunately. Mm, yeah,
Yeah, so it was great talking to you, man, and
for sure.
we
All right.
stay in touch. Maybe we can catch up after the fight or something.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Let's do it.
Appreciate it, man. It's great
All right.
talking to you. Great meeting you.
All right. Take care, man.
Take
Aloha.
care. Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.